All right, how you guys doing today? We about to hop into the reading of Proverbs chapter 13. First things first, though, just want you guys to like the video. Hit a little exit full screen, scroll a bit, like it, and then for screen it back up. You feel me? A wise son hears his father instructions, but a scorner hears not rebuke. Right, and goes to the whole thing, to the first verse of chapter 12 again. Right, it said, "Whoso loves instruction loves knowledge, but he that doesn't like rebuke, or he that hates reproof, is brutish." Same type of thing. As a son, you hear your father's instructions, whether it be your dad or your actual father in heaven, right? But a scorner won't hear it. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, and by the soul of the transgressor. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressor shall eat violence. And this is that sow what you reap thing, right? A good man, or a man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth. If you're talking good, get good back. Soul of a transgressor shall eat violence. Why? Because he's sowing violence. He that keeps his mouth keeps his life, but he that opens wide his lips shall have destruction. And same type of thing, but I feel like this directly juxtaposes what we see in James, where it says no man can bridle their tongue, right? It's very hard to control what comes out of your mouth and all that type of thing, because all that can come out is poison and asps of a snake, but with God all things are possible, right? So if we pray to God that we can keep our mouth, we can keep our life. But if you open wide your lips, you're gonna have destruction, right? If you're not careful about what's coming out of your mouth, you're not careful about the things you're saying, things you're thinking, the actions you're doing, it's gonna lead to destruction. The soul of a sluggard desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent man shall be made fat. And once again, we see fat being used in the good sense here, meaning you'll get a lot, you'll be full, essentially. But the soul of the sluggard, the lazy man, shall desire, but he won't ever have anything. And as long as you're diligent, right, you're consistent, you'll be made fat. And that's a lot of what people see today. I get a lot of videos that pop up on my feed about like new YouTubers and stuff like that, and growing your business and all that. I don't care about business for the most part, but the small YouTuber stuff I watch on occasion, and a lot of it is just like stay consistent, because the more consistent you get, the better you'll get, and eventually people will drop out, and the less content creators, when they drop out, then the more you'll stick up. And for me, it's not really about that. It's more about keeping myself consistent with the word. And I'd be a liar if I said I didn't look at the stats on occasion, or not on occasion, like every day when I post. But at the same time, it's not my main driving factor. It's just like, how can I stay consistent? How can I spread the word? How can I get more into my word? So if you stay consistent, you'll be full. And that's pretty much the same thing with reading your word too. If you read your word consistently, you'll understand it, as long as you're praying for discernment and God wills that it should be made available to you, right? A righteous man hates lying, but a wicked man is loathsome and comes to shame. Self-sufficient right there. Righteous keeps him that is upright in the way, right, following God, but a wicked man overthrows the sinner, but wickedness overthrows the sinner, right? The fact that they're showing the wickedness leads to them getting overthrown, because wickedness brings death. And that doesn't mean they'll die, so to speak, but it could lead to the death of their role. There is that makes himself rich, yet has nothing. There is that makes himself poor, yet has great riches, right? And we see this exemplified through when Jesus told the rich man, sell all your stuff and follow me. Why? Because he's poor, yet he has great riches, not only stored up in heaven, but also the stuff that God has blessed him down on this planet. Yet he who works to make himself rich has nothing, because he lacks God. Facts. The ransom of a life's man, or of a man's life, is his riches, but the poor hears not rebuke. And he said this verse is funny because it's like, see, a rich man can pay a ransom. Broke dude ain't even on the ransom guy's radar, because he too broke to even, you can't extort somebody out of money if they don't have money, right? I mean, nowadays age, I guess you can make them take out a loan, but back then it was like, he's homeless. We got nothing to bargain with him for, or nobody, we could bargain with nobody for this man because he's broke, So the light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Why? Because our hope's in something else in the future. That lamp never goes out. Jesus, the way, the truth, and the light. Jesus' light's never going out. But the lamp of these people, their light is in their life. And guess what? Eventually that light's gonna shut out. Only by pride comes contention, but with the well-advised is wisdom. Right? Don't have pride. You're never too high to take advice from somebody. You're never too high to listen to somebody. You can always do that. And even if you don't want to take their advice, still listening to it not only gives them peace of mind for the fact that you heard them out, but also just helps yourself knowing that, hey, there's different avenues I can take, and you can compare and contrast different routes and stuff like that. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathers by labor shall increase. Right? And not only is it saying wealth by vanity, so by like wicked pursuits shall be diminished, but stuff that you gain by labor shall increase. But also Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. And this is, he said, is the biblical way of increasing your money, is little by little through security. Why? Because that's what we do with heaven, right? Everything that we do is little by little. We fight the fight by fight. We fall down a little bit, trip up a little bit, we get back up, we beat the little things until we keep moving slowly by slowly, surely by surely. God graces us and gives us more grace and more grace and more grace over time. It's usually not just a boom, you got mad grace. So the same should come with money, where it's not just, oh, a whole bunch of money, because then guess what? You're also being thrust in a position where you don't have that. Have you ever thought you were so confident on a sin and then fell right back into it? Where you're like, nah, God has delivered me. I'm so delivered. And then the next day you're sitting there like, this ain't as easy as I thought. You know, you listen to one good sermon, you think, I'm so invigorated, I'm never gonna do this again. Why would I ever? And then boom, you fall right back into it because you were caught lacking. You know, it was like you're too overconfident. You didn't build it up little by little. You didn't fight all those little fights to end up building up a tolerance over time to then rule it out. That's why it's little by little, right? You're going piece by piece. Same with your money. Just grow it piece by piece, because that, you know, is secure. And you know it's harder to. That's why they also say spread out your investments, because if you put all your eggs in one basket and it falls through, then you're out of everything. But if you spread it out, then you got a lot of money and a little everything. If one fails, you still got a lot of it everywhere else. Hope defers makes the heart sick, but when desire comes, it's a tree of life. And he mentioned that there's a lot of clinical words for a sick heart, right? Doctors, therapists, they'll say everything that why your heart's sick, and they'll try to prescribe stuff to make it better. But really, there's only one cure, and that's God. So hope deferred, so pushing off your hope and letting it back up, right? For example, everything you want, push it back. Heaven, you know, live your life until it's time to go to heaven. Pushing it back, that stuff makes the heart sick, but at the end it gives joy, because when the desire comes, it's a tree of life. When you finally get what you want, it's going to be so great that there's not going to be waiting anymore about hope making the heart sick. Right? Think about it like dieting and exercise, right? You're deferring the food you want to eat until you get the body you desire, because then it's easier than to work off the little bit of fat that some bad food may gain than it is to constantly be pushing it off and constantly having to lose to get to that point. You know, but once it comes, it's a tree of life. Same thing with our heaven and rewards. We're pushing off all our fleshly desires because we know that when heaven comes, we're gonna be blessed. Whoso despises the word shall be destroyed, but he that fears the commandment shall be rewarded. Right? The word, you can see this as scripture, you can see it as Jesus, whatever you really want, but the message is the same. If you despise it, you're gonna be destroyed. But if you fear the commandment, you'll be rewarded. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Who's wise? Jesus. What did Jesus say to us? He didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law, right? Not to condemn, but to save. And the law of the wisdom of Jesus, right? It's written on our hearts, because the Holy Spirit is the fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Good understanding gives favor, by the way of the transgressor is hard, right? Good understanding, everything's going to start lining up for you. God's going to put you where you need to be, and he's going to take care of you, right? We see that all throughout Proverbs. It says that. But the way of the transgressor is hard, because they're not favoring with God. They don't have that. They're not on the way of him. So it's going to be worse. Every prudent man deals with knowledge, but a fool lays open his folly. A wicked messenger. Oh, wait. Right, so if you're a prudent man, you got that knowledge, but a fool, it's that stupid work. A wicked messenger falls into mischief. Why? Because he's wicked. But a faithful ambassador gets health. Poverty and shame shall be to him that refuses instruction, but he that regards reproof shall be honored. Right? He took 11, 12, and 13 all to mention the topic of money, and then went over verses again. And this fits that he mentioned, because poverty and shame shall be to him that refuses instruction. Why? Because it says that God will bless little by little, and still bless with your wealth and all that stuff, or you'll be taken care of. Essentially, I don't want to say that he'll just give you wealth, right? I'm not a preacher, I'm not a teacher, I'm going off service teaching, but poverty and shame shall be to him that refuses instruction. Do you want that? Do you want destruction, poverty, and shame? I don't think you do, especially if you're watching the video. I really don't think you do. Why? Because that ain't cool. But he that regards reproof, yeah, right, you're looking for this change, same like it said in chapter 12, if you hate reproof, brutish. And that's not a good thing. Being brutish is not a good thing. We say like brute strength now, but it's basically like animalistic strength, he said. You want to be referred to as an animal? I thought you were a human. That's my problem with evolution. They say we all evolved from animals. This is organisms. I think God made us better than that, personally. Anyway, he regards reproof shall be honored, right? The desire accomplished is sweet to the soul, right? You do a good job. You finish a task. Sweet to the soul. How did Paul describe it in the New Testament? He finished the race, fought the good fight. He saw it to the end. Your desire accomplished, whatever you want, when it gets finished, it's sweet to the soul, but it's an abomination to fools to depart from their evil. He that walks with wise men shall be wise. Why? The company you keep. This is a proof example in the Bible of the company you keep is going to rub off on you. Those who walk with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Evil pursues sinners. Keep that in mind. Evil pursues sinners, but to the righteous, good shall be repaid. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is later for the just. And he said this was a bigger thing back in their time where you needed inheritance, because if you really didn't inherit anything, it was very hard to live, right? If you weren't inheriting a house, if you weren't inheriting cattle, sheep, type of stuff like that, some land, you were kind of out of luck a little bit. In a weird way. I don't really know how to describe it because I'm not a historian and he didn't get too deep into it, but it was just a bigger thing in their culture. But even still, I think it reigns true today. It makes it a little bit easier for a life, but it makes life a little easier for your children, right? If you're working, right, you're working and then you retire and you're blowing through your retirement money, you have nothing left to pass on to your kids. It's like they can't get a boon in their life when it's time to raise up their family, right? Because I think we could all say that in today's day and age, an average time that parents be having kids like 30. Let's look it up. In the United States, the average age of first-time mothers is around 27. And then people are having children later in life, with the average age of women giving birth rising to 30. So it's around 27. New York Times says like 26, and for fathers it's 31, which is up from 21 and 27 is what it was before. But the gap is still there, like a 5-year age gap ish. So average age of mothers 26, fathers 31. So by that time, most people, if their parents checks out, they're going to be in their mid 50s, they're going to be in their 60s, whatever the case is, because life has gotten longer. So people are deferring to kids so they can be a bit more set up. But if you're working, and so your kids are about to have their kids and you're retired, then it's nice that, hey, if I keep working, I can give you some money. Or two, if you're retired and then you die, and then it's like boom, you can give that to them, or they can give that to their kids, because by the time most people die is when their kids are having kids, or their kids are having kids. Yeah, you're like great grandchildren. It's usually when the time when people die, and you get that money, and that money passed down the thing. So it's like, hey, this is making it easy for your kids, or for your kids if their kids are going to college. Then it's like, hey, that helps out with tuition. It helps out a lot. So it makes sense. Like, to me, retirement was always kind of weird, because it's like, if you get to the point where it's like, all right, I'm at the year where I can retire, in my mind, it's just like, why not work another year? Because if I'm at the point where I can retire, everything I'm basically making now is profit, because I'm supposed to be living off your savings, right? That's the whole premise of retirement. So everything you got now is pretty much profit. So let's say you're making even $40,000 a year. You work an extra year. You were already set before, but now you just made an extra $40,000. That can help your family out so much. That's somebody's year of tuition, if not 2 years, depending on what kind of school they go to. If not their whole thing, depending on if they got some nice scholarships and whatever. Just pay somebody's tuition to make your family even better. $40,000. Oh, you need a new car to get to work. You don't have a car to get to work. You've been taking public transportation. $40,000. That's a used car. Would fix it up a little bit, and boom, you good to go. 40K. Oh, your heater just broke in your house. Boom, give it a little something. You want this to improve your values, the value of your house, so when you sell it, you make more money. Boom, here's a little 10K that boosts your home value by 30. You know what I'm saying? It's investment, and then you like, it's a family unit. We've lost so much of that as time went on, as people went to spread more out in families. You don't got like little families taking over cities anymore. Not taking over cities like conquest, but taking over cities like, we got 40 different family members in this city. Everybody knows somebody who knows something and how to do something, so we all good. We all eating. Which isn't a bad thing, right? It's not like a selfish thing like, oh yeah, we still care about money and all that stuff. It's just like, no, you can help when you need it, and then with the money bouncing around the pool like that, you can help others when they need it. You can set things up, not only to make generational wealth, but also just help the community in general. You got people caring for the community because you're good people. Same way you care for your family is the same way you want everybody else living, because why would you not want that for everybody else? But people don't be thinking like that no more, right? So much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that destroyed for want of just. I don't be getting that there is that. This is the second time in this chapter. A poor person's farm may produce much food, but injustice sweeps it all away. Yeah, so you may be broke and making a lot of food, right? You're taken care of, so to speak, but your injustice takes it away. And it might take it away as in you may boss up in the way of the world because you're doing wrong, and the world will now, promote that and bless that. But it also could be swept away and, hey, your sin, and then there's death following that sin. He that spares the rod hates the son, but he that loves him chastises him betimes. So, classic biblical speaking, beat your kids, not for no reason, but like just reprove them. And, there's times where it's just a verbal warning. There's times where you got to yell at them. There's times where you got to hit them with something. And that, it's all heart posture, go with what your heart says. But there's times where you're going to have to hit your kids, probably, right? Nobody's kid is perfect. And I think that physical pain is the best representative of this is what's coming later. Because, verbally, it just hurts your feelings. You can get on and live without feelings. People live without their family members all their time, all their life, and all that type of stuff, to where that don't really matter. But when you feel pain, it kind of inflicts that, dang, if I do this, I'm going to get hit. And that's bad, right? And even though pain is a shorter consequence than the loss of somebody in your life, because you lose somebody in your life, you don't have them for years, while pain only may last like an hour or two if you get beat really bad, But sometimes pain is like, it's that instantaneous, like you feeling this. And it's worse when it comes from somebody you love, because you really know you disappointed them, and it's that subconscious level of that. So yeah, the righteous eats to the satisfying of the soul, but the belly of the wicked shall want. So the righteous man, he's gonna get all he wants to go. He's gonna get all he wants to get, but the belly of the wicked man, he won't. All right, that's gonna be the end of the chapter. I hope you guys have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.